Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar with the topic Guidelines on Distance Education for Families. I'd like to introduce you to our speakers. First one is we have James Abella from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and we have Ria Garcia from the Philippines. Okay, so for this session, um, we will have our objective is to by the way, I'm Gary Garcia, an edtech coach, a family man with two kids, and an educator. My wife here will be later talking about the guidelines for us parents, and then we'll have James later for the security of using devices. So for this session, what we'd like to determine will be at the end of the webinar, you will be able to determine the resources needed for online home learning and recognize both the limitations and the opportunities opened by online home learning. And then you may arrive at a plan to approach home-based learning. Okay, so that's our objective for this session. Now let's start with Mr. James Avella, and he'll be talking about security or parental controls. Okay, so
Yes.
let's welcome James.
Hello. And I also have two children. Apparently, that was the main qualification for the job.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so I have a boy and a girl, and I've been through this, and I'm just going to tell you the solutions that you can have and the age groups that these things are appropriate for, and just some simple guides. Some of this is free. Some of this could potentially cost you money, but there are always free ways to do things and a little bit more expensive. Now, in terms of general safety, it is always a good idea to have a virus checker regardless. And if you use Android, I highly recommend that you don't go around downloading apps from here, there, and everywhere. I would stick to the Play Store. If you're on iOS, please don't jailbreak. There's not your iPhone is an expensive device. Your iPad's an expensive device. There's not that much software that you need to even pay for at all. And the odd little bit you might want to pay for, the safety of getting it from the App Store is much better than trying to jailbreak your device. And as I say, with Android, again, stick to the recognized stores. I know there's a few stores around. And I say with Mac and PC, please get virus killers. There's a false rumor going around saying Macs can't get viruses. Yes, they can. And there's a lot of scam artists and things going on. So with all that in mind. Now, let's have a look at some parental controls. So it's a little bit different. This is how you can help control things for parents. It's still very true that if you have a computer, you have much more comprehensive controls. Windows 10 will actually send you an email every week with all the websites that your student has been on. You need to understand that if you're using a Windows PC, this works for Edge. If you're using Mac OS, it works for Safari. It doesn't work for Chrome or Firefox or any of the other ones. So you need to use the ones that are built into the operating system. And really what I've done, and we will share these links, is I've given you something where you can read more how to do it, and a little video to give you a taster. But what you can do is you can control exactly what apps are being used, how much screen time is being used, and which websites they have, and that's true for both of them. Key terms. Now, there's a couple of key terms that you might come across. A whitelist. Now, I would recommend up to the age of 10 they use a whitelist idea, and that is children are only allowed to go to the websites that you say. A blacklist is the opposite. Children are allowed to go everywhere except those sites that you block. And I say, for me, up to about the age of 10, I would stick to whitelist. As they get a little bit older, doing more research, then you can move across to a blacklist. Guided access. So if you're on an iPhone or an iPad, you can, for younger kids, let's say 5 to 8, you can actually give them your phone and lock it to just one app. And again, I've given you the instructions to do this, but basically you triple tap on the thing once you've set it up, and it locks it to that particular app, meaning that the children aren't going to accidentally go to other apps. And you can also sort out screen time, so they're only allowed to use the apps at certain times of the day. Android has a different approach. They have this thing called Family Link, and that allows you to use certain apps. And again, you get to choose the time that you'd like them to use, but also it encourages discussion. The family link page is really good at guiding you through. Absolutely fantastic. Now, if you want to go a bit more, because you're all stuck at home and you want to guide the whole house, there are some paid for options. netnanny.com is still around. It's been around for about 10, 15 years. It's still around. You install it onto all your computers and it guides and sorts it out. That does include Android and iOS, so iPhones and Android as well. If you want to block all of the hardware in your house, all of the devices in your house, particularly if you have a larger house, there are routers, and one of them is a Griffon. I've got to warn you, this will take some setting up. And finally, if you want to do it yourself, you're a keen advocate and you're quite technically minded, there's this thing called Keeksy Box. It's free, and you can buy these cheap Raspberry Pis, but you do need to be technically very confident to do that, or have a friend who's very confident. Generally speaking, I would say the less technically minded you are, the less I would go for the more low-tech solutions which cost you nothing. Number one, if you as a household can establish that you keep all your devices to common areas, that is going to make your life a lot easier, because you're going to be able to see directly what students are doing. And I think that's really good as parents, and it's something we've tried really hard to do. Eventually they get to a certain age, they want a bit more privacy, but I still think devices should be kept in common areas for as long as possible. And certainly the recommendations for the likes of Facebook is 13. Please remember that in the European Union, so in Europe, the age limit is actually 16 for Facebook, Instagram, and other things. Use that as a way to remind your kids. The other way is you can be sure the material's good if it's a book that you've already read. Good old-fashioned books are brilliant because you don't have to worry about what they're doing. Individually, they don't cost very much, and they're a great way to get children reading. If you can't get books that you want, then I think the Kindle is often a better idea because it's text-based. The trouble with the Kindle is because it's text-based, it's not great for children learning to read with the color and so on, but it is very good once children hit 8 or 9, and it's a gadget you can give, and you can decide what books they are because the Kindle store is accessible. Okay, that's it from me. Looks like I'm on the show by myself at the moment. I don't know what's happened there. Oh, Gary is back in. That was a fantastic presentation, the best ever that you didn't see, Gary. Yeah, and you've locked yourself out. You've muted. You're muted, Gary.
Sorry.
So sorry.
We were able to listen. We're at the background. Thank you so much for the informative guide for parents to secure the devices of their kids and Wi-Fi security. Okay. Any tip for parents with regard to the use of gadgets?
My advice is set down the rules. Set down the rules and stick to them, just like any other parenting. Especially with distance learning, look, you're allowed to do your distance learning plus 1 to 2 hours on top. But even that, I would say at this point, you probably want to say, look at my glasses. This is since new, since I've had to do that. So I do think screen time limits and discussions. Actually, the Android thing that I suggested actually tells you and gives you some suggestions as to how you might have these discussions. But yeah, I would have a family discussion, have a family meeting and say, look, these are the rules, but keep the devices in common areas. One other trick is don't extend your Wi-Fi beyond the living room. Just don't do it. If the Wi-Fi doesn't work in the bedroom, your problems are halved. Okay.
Very good idea.
Very good idea, because in our case, the entire house has a signal. But it's a good
yes, and that's the thing. But I also see, the other thing is it's actually good for the Wi-Fi to switch it off. So you can say, look, 9 o'clock, everybody's Wi-Fi goes off.
Yeah.
You know, give it a time. Everybody's taking a screen time break from this time, and that will stop the kids watching incessant videos and movies beyond their bedtime. If you as adults model a good example as well.
Yeah.
Maybe last question before you go.
Sure.
You recommend really good sites for kids, for parents whenever they're having a hard time tutoring their children at home for some topics that may be out of their league. So
sure. PBS has an excellent website. And National Geographic for kids is also excellent. Those are two subjects that I'd really recommend. If yeah, I think those are the two that are available throughout the world. I know that the Philippines, the television channels are actually doing a really good job. And I think actually your local television channels are also really good. But yeah, the Discovery for kids is fantastic. PBS is good, and the American ones. Unfortunately, a lot of the British websites now are geo-locked, which is a real shame.
Oh, okay.
So,
Last advice for parents who are to embark on this learning journey with their children.
my advice for you is guys, your emergency stand-ins, don't beat yourselves up if you don't do a great job. If there's one thing I would concentrate on, it's spending time reading with your children. If they get a love of reading, there's no limits.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very, very
very
well
true.
said. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
All
much
much.
right.
James.
for
Take care.
sharing with
Bye-bye.
us. Yes,
Bye.
Thank you
bye.
very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, now we'll have my wife, Teacher Ria, to present about the different ways of the things that we can do at home. How can we prepare our kids? What we can do before the school starts. Okay, so Teacher Ria,
Yeah.
take it away. Let me share the screen. Okay.
So at the end of this webinar, we hope that everyone will get some resources that you will be needing for online home learning. And also that we recognize that online learning really has a lot of limitations, but also at the same time, it presents a lot of opportunities. So it's up to us how we can maximize those opportunities. And thirdly, we hope that after this webinar, we arrive at a plan to approach home-based learning.
Okay.
Okay. So first off, maybe we should differentiate between homeschooling, home-based learning, and online education. Okay. So first, homeschooling. So a lot of parents are asking me, Teacher Ria, is it okay to shift to homeschooling if we cannot really attend or enroll in traditional schools at this time? So I would often say it depends. May time po ba kayo to plan? Tapos may time to really sit down and teach your children? And also, can you offer time for them to meet their classmates, at least makapag-hi online? So if you can be assured of those things, then go ahead. You can try homeschooling. But for those parents na still unsure about the time that they will be spending with their kids sa pagtuturo, then I think online learning is the way to go. So what is online learning? So simply put, it's an education that takes place over the internet. Usually we call this e-learning or sometimes distance learning. Okay? And then one important term that we have encountered in at least in my research about home learning is the term home-based learning. So in home-based learning, we have the teachers who plan using the school curriculum. But it is the parents and other family members who will do the activities with their children. So this is the one big change with our education nowadays. Dun sa online learning, although may plan si teacher, they will still follow the curriculum, ang malaking responsibility is with us parents kasi we have to support our children, teach them, explain concepts that are still vague to them. So we have a bigger part in the education of our children now that we're entering this new normal in education. So mas maraming responsibility yung parents when we talk about home-based learning. But it doesn't end there. May mga requirements din po when we talk about home-based learning. So what are we talking about? So big question, how can we support our children's home-based learning? What can we do to make sure that they still learn even though they are at home. Okay, point number one. This is very important, is to make sure that they have a home learning environment. So what is a home learning environment? It means that you use the physical space na meron tayo sa bahay. So mag-set up tayo ng tables and chairs and materials that they'll be needing for their education. But at the same time, very important to stress that they need the social interaction as well. So hindi lang po bibigyan natin sila ng space, but we provide the social interaction, the guidance that they need so that they can proceed with their online education, that they will be on top of their activities and the tasks that teachers will assign to them. So again, home learning environment, not just the physical space, but also the social interaction between people inside the home. So it can be between parents and their children, or between the grandparents and the children. Because usually in our homes, we have extended families living with us. So that's very important, not just the space, but also the social interaction. I posted this picture because I like how it is organized. It's using very small space only, but it's very it was I think this is very cleverly designed kasi we see that's very organized. You can access your materials both sides of the learning station. So this is a very clever design. You don't need much space. You just need to have a lot of organizers for the materials of your children. Okay. Okay, now I turn you over to Teacher Gary in setting up our learning space. What do we really need to teach our children? So what are the hardware that we'll be needing?
Okay. So since everyone will be staying at home, we need to have a learning space, and our setup for learning space is very important. So how can we make it more comfortable for our kids? Basically, what we need is a laptop or a desktop for our kids. But when they are having synchronous class, if when they are, let's say, they are listening to the teacher and they have something hands-on activity to do using a computer, it will be good to have a secondary monitor. When you say a secondary monitor, your kid should have two monitors, but it is connected to one unit. Meaning, you can your child can see the hands-on exercises, the explanation of the teacher, and then at the same time can do the hands-on exercises. So basically, it's like an extension of your. You have two desktop or lap. You have two computers, but you only have one unit actually. So parang ano lang siya, parang extension lang. Kaya secondary monitor. It can be your existing computer monitor, or it can be your TV at home, no? So what you need to do to connect them is an HDMI. If you're using an HDMI, if the port of your TV is HDMI. Kung VGA naman, ito yung may tatlong kulay, yung color yellow, white, and red, no? So this is the VGA is the one with the pin, yung color blue. So depende po yun. But most of the time, most of the TVs nowadays, meron pa tayong HDMI connection. So all you need to do is buy a cable, mga 2 meters lang, no? Or 3 meters, mas maganda para mas pwedeng lumayo yung anak niyo sa TV. So HDMI cable, it's around ano lang po, ano? Parang around 300 lang po. Depende po yan kung sa kayo bibili. So meron po yan, available po yan sa online shopping, yung mga alam niyo po nating online shopping dito sa Pilipinas, or pwede rin po sa mga yung nasa Ace Hardware or sa ano po ito, sa yung sa SM or sa Robinsons na hardware, no? Meron din po yan. Sabihin niyo lang po HDMI cable. But the adapter po, medyo wala po siya sa mga malls, or makikita niyo lang po siya sa mga computer shops, or better, ano na lang po, pwede nyo pong parehong i-order na lang sa online shopping. Ano po? Sa Shopee or Lazada. Ayan po. So, madali lang pong i-set up yan. What you need to know is the display. yung settings lang po, display settings ng inyong computer. Whether it's Windows or Mac, meron po yung display settings. Sasabihin nyo lang po na meron kayong extended monitor. You will see that once you once you turn on your extra monitor and then connect it using the cable and adapter, madedetect na po yan automatically. So, very simple lang po yan. Ito po ay kung gusto niyo mas maging komportable at makita ng anak ninyo yung tinuturo ng teacher at the same time makita niya yung kanyang screen. Kaya po kailangan ng dalawang monitor. So,
How about iPad, teacher?
an iPad is also possible, pero ibig sabihin nun, dalawang ang nakakonect sa ating internet, ano? So, halimbawa, hindi ganun kaganda ang ating connection. So, I advise to have a secondary monitor. So, yung TV naman po natin sa bahay, pwede po natin gamitin yan. But if you have a strong internet connection, go ahead, you can make use of an iPad. A mobile phone will also do, but nga lang po, mas maliit po yung screen, baka po mahirapan yung anak natin. And you need to have a stand for your iPad or for the extra phone. So, yun po ang ating magiging setup para mas komportable ang ating anak. Okay po? So, I'll give you back to Teacher Ria. What's next, Teacher Ria?
Okay, I would just like to add dun sa sinabi ni Teacher Gary, in our experience with the online classes that we had been conducting, it's easier for those children if they see their classmates on the big screen. Mas nag-enjoy sila.
It's very important
Oo.
to have a secondary monitor.
Oo, kasi
There's a sense of normalcy.
yes, they can interact better when they see their classmates on the big screen. So it won't cost you that much. I think almost all of us have a TV, a big screen TV. So we really recommend if you can buy the HDMI adapter and the cable for our kids. Okay, so moving on po. So when we are setting up the home learning environment, what are the other things that we need to make sure of? So number one, dapat i-set up natin siya sa isang lugar na hindi ganun karaming dumadaan, na it can be quiet, if not the whole time na nag-aral yung anak nyo, at least for sometimes during the day, pwede sila magstay wherein they can study. So kung talaga maraming tao sa bahay, maybe sabihan yung mga tao if they can make sure na itong area na to, wag mo nang daanan for this specific time kasi nag-aaral yung bata. And then, syempre, unfortunately, kailangan talaga ng internet signal. So we really have to make sure na we have access to a very good internet provider. Na dito sa Philippines, parang medyo meron ba? So that's also our struggle. And then, as what James had said, our first speaker, the computer and the gadgets must be in an area at home na present yung adult, yung nakikita yung bata kung ano yung ginagawa dun sa computer para hindi tayo mag-worry kung anong sites na yung binivisit niya, kung talaga bang ginagawa yung dapat gawin, or kung nag-stay siya sa task or baka may iba nang pinupuntahan, iba na yung ginagawa. So these are very important. So make sure that we have this at home. Doon sa isa-set up natin na home learning environment. Okay. Okay, next. Yeah, this is one thing that always I recommend to my kids, to the children that we teach, to their families. So you'll never go wrong with setting up a book nook or a very cozy library for your children. So behind me, we have our collection of books. These are just some. I don't know if you can see behind me some of the books that we have at home. Some of the books that I had in college, binabasa na rin ng anak ko. So, they are really very good investment. Kaya lang ngayon, hindi na tayo makalabas to buy books. So, the next best thing, I guess, would be to download books from providers. From a lot of sites, I think, offer free downloads of books. So, marami. Kasi anak ko marami rin siya nakukuha na books na for free. Like Percy Jackson, what else? the popular books nowadays. Harry Potter, she got it for free. She was able to download it for free online. Hunger Games. So many books are accessible online that you don't need to spend and go out and buy them. Okay. Yes, this one is very, very important. I cannot stress this enough. When we have very young children, I think even for older children, having a routine and setting up expectations is crucial. So, for those parents, they would often ask me, "Teacher, what do I do? Hindi ko siya mapasunod sa bahay, sa school lang sumusunod." So, I recommend this. I tell them, "Mommy, if possible, if you can um, make some time to make a visual calendar, then that will be very good." So, what is a visual calendar? It looks like this, what you see on your screen. So, kung hindi pa reader yung bata, importante na may pictures so that they can see, okay, so upon waking up, ano yung next kong gagawin? So, may nakalagay doon, restroom. And then afterwards, brush teeth, get dressed, and breakfast. So, if you notice, there are stars under. So, that means tapos na yung task, nagawa na niya. So, hindi siya pwede mag-move on to the next task unless natapos na yung task before that. So, sa mga maliliit na bata, napakagandang training po nito. Actually, they use this for SPED children, but we found out that it's also very useful for very young children, the kids that are still having difficulty following rules and routines. So this is very good training for them. So it might take a while for them to get used to it, but it's a very good training for children. On a personal note, one of our children has she has ADHD, and we have found out na this tactic, this strategy really works well for her. Whenever she needs to accomplish something, kailangan may nakikita siyang visual reminder kung ano yung dapat niya nang gagawin, ano yung dapat natapos na niya, so she can proceed. Pwede niyo rin po lagyan to ng reward at the end para pag nakita na, okay, tapos na ako sa 5 tasks ko. So, maybe after my 5 tasks, mabibigyan na ako ni mommy ng something or a reward for doing the things that I have to do. Okay. And then, okay, so to expound on what I have just mentioned, this one is very detailed na. So for older kids, maybe, so creating a calendar with clear expectations. Sasamahan na natin yung chores sa bahay. Lalo ngayon, nasa bahay lang tayo lahat. So this is a good time to teach them paano sila makakatulong sa bahay. For us both, for Teacher Gary and I, we are glad na at this time they have learned practical skills like magsaing, maghugas ng pinggan, setting up the table. Na before, fixing their bed. Na before, we cannot really have them or force them to do it because they're always running out of time, hinahabol yung time sa school, or pagdating sa bahay, hindi mo na rin mabother kasi may assignment sila. But now, since the days are slow and you don't really have much to do, so we got to teach them about cooking, about fixing their bed, and we sometimes bake the very easy recipes lang naman, but it's very good training for them to follow a recipe, how to turn on yung very simple task of turning on the stove. Hindi madali sa kanila, kailangan talaga ituturo. So we found that out, and we're learning with them. Okay. Once we have started with our online learning journey with our children, it's best if we set up a study schedule. So, for example, for Monday, ano ba yung topic for Monday? So, for Monday, we'll be studying English and reading. And for Tuesday, it's for math. For Wednesday, this is the subject. So, maybe science. So, again, for younger kids, better if they have pictures so they have a visual reminder of the things that they have to do for the day. By the way, if we are teaching, if you have very young children, it's always best that we teach them in the morning. So their cognitive processes are best in the morning. So in the afternoon, kailangan na mag-nap, kailangan na magpahinga. So if you can start early and teach them in the morning, that will be great. Okay, this is what I was talking about. We can assign them chores after studying. Ito yung kailangan mong gawin to help mommy and daddy at home. And then on the right side, we have a very creative presentation. So yung mga tapos na, nilalagay ng bata dun sa done na part, yung mga to-do na sa kabilang part. This is magnetic, by the way, for young children so that they can participate in the transferring of the buttons from one part to the other. Okay, this one very important. So may mga questions po na paano kung walang may iwanan sa mga bata? Walang magtuturo, paano natin, how can we ensure that they still learn and they still progress with their study? Actually, that's a very difficult question to answer because there's no shortcut. We really have to assign an adult to supervise our children's needs and her concerns. So if the parents are unable, there should be someone with the child, especially very young children. I think even for older children, they still struggle. So the supervision should always be there. If not from us, then from another adult from the family. Okay, this by adults, I mean the family around us that we can depend on, who can undertake the task of teaching our children in case a parent is unable. Pero ituturo po nila, not really just academics. In the picture that I am showing here, it's it's showing someone doing pottery. So a lot of us in the family have members who are good at something. So maybe we can ask that family member to teach our children some skills that they know, especially mga family members natin na magaling sa isang craft, magaling mag-draw or mag-cook or okay, o yun yung electrical setup kung medyo malaki na yung bata. Oo, yung mga skills na gagamitin talaga nila sa real life. Kung medyo malalaki na, maybe something mechanical like paano magpalit ng gulong kung talagang maabutan ka sa kalye. Kasi hindi yan yung... Paano magpalit ng bombilya. Kasi yan yung mga skills na hindi sa atin tinuturo sa school na kailangan natin when we get out of school. So, maybe itong time na ito yung binigay sa atin para, our children learn from us about life, about skills that they need beyond the textbook knowledge that they gain from school. So, yan po, yan. If you have someone na baka medyo mahirap po hanapin, marunong maghabi, and mag-farm, yan. Parang magtanim lang sa paso. Lalo ngayon, kailangan natin maging self-sufficient kasi hindi natin alam kung saan manggagaling yung pagkain natin the next day because of so many uncertainties. So kung makapagtanim sila, matuto sila
science,
makapag-grow ng something that they can eat eventually. So it's going back to the basics, actually. Okay. This one is when our kids are already in school, how do we make sure that we maintain communication from their teachers? I hope the school that you have enrolled your children in would have open line of communication from that we can access anytime. Especially if younger yung mga bata natin, yung mga anak natin. So these are some ways that we can communicate with our teachers and the teachers can communicate with us. So when we were looking for school for this very unique time in our lives, medyo ang tinitingnan talaga namin, ano yung na-set up nila na system na pwedeng mag-feedback sila kaagad sa amin. Kasi nga napakahirap nung what we are in right now. So all are very new. So we always ask teachers, paano po kayo makipag-communicate sa amin kung may kailangan, paano i-support yung bata kung nahihirapan sa mga topics. So yeah, we always ask the teachers that. Yeah, things to be considered when you are still looking for a school for your child. Okay. So this I already mentioned earlier. So with us, it worked na may timer doon sa isa ko pong anak kasi conscious siya na kung gaano katagal na lang yung meron siya for a task. Tapos alam niya pagkatapos nung i-check ko siya, so dapat tapos na siya doon sa task niya. And for older kids, ito po, checklist. So, oops. Sorry. So, you see the subjects. So, maybe first week, o lagyan ng star kapag tapos na yung task for the first week, and so on and so forth. So, at the end, may nakalagay na course completed kapag natapos na lahat yung task niya, maybe for the week or for the month. Also, it's very important for us parents na hindi lang tayo mag-stick dun sa textbooks, sa mga concepts na pinapaturo ni teacher. But, you know, we find learning in the everyday, yung mga pwede natin maituro na we call that teachable moments. Yung mga moments na hindi mo pinlano pero okay, sige, pwede ko na ising ito. Pwede ko na ituro sa kanya kasi total nagtatanong na rin naman siya sa akin. Like, maybe for us, it's about dun sa cooking, maraming natutunan yung mga bata. Like, how long dapat ang nakasalang yung something bago maluto, paano mo malalaman kung luto na yung isang bagay. So yun, those are very, very practical things. And also, one of my children, they would go down sa akin minsan sa store and he would help me give change dun sa mga bumibili. So that's math in action. So those are example of teachable moments. So it's an event or experience which presents a good opportunity for learning something about a particular aspect of life. And if we really don't know what to do, how to proceed, always ask for help. Meron at meron pong pwedeng tumulong sa atin. Lahat tayo nasa isang very difficult situation. Maybe we can identify kung sino pwede magturo ng computer, kung merong nahihirapan, sino pwede yung tawagan for math, for English. So if you can have that one person that you can ask to for help, that will be great para pare-parehas tayong makasurvive nitong school year na to. And lastly, always make learning fun. This is quite difficult, but it would mean some research, pero like what we have here in the picture, this is simple engineering. So they use marshmallows and sticks to make some formation. And then on the right side, you have, this is for younger children, for number recognition. So yung piko, po pwede mo ipasok yung number recognition, sequencing, or maybe odd even, skip counting. So kailangan lang maging very creative tayo. We can always ask the teachers of our children kung paano pa mas mapapaganda yung pagtuturo sa bahay. So it's a lot of challenge, but it's doable, but we need the help of a lot of people. Okay. Lastly, this one, what I am showing you, you can see the link on top. So it's a parent decision-making tool. So when you type that, you'll be led to a site with the checklist. So para matanong natin sarili natin, is it really possible or feasible to have my kids learn at home? Meron ba talagang pwedeng magturo sa anak ko? So some sample questions. I'm able to work while my child is not in school. That is, I can still successfully do my job or I am able to telework. So marami sa atin ang hindi makakasagot ng oo dito kasi marami sa atin, we cannot really work from home. We have to go to our office. Or if we do work from home, ang hirap naman magtuturo tapos nagtatrabaho. So those are the challenges. Tapos may internet ba tayo lahat na mabilis? Paano wala talaga tayong access o hindi kayang isabay sa budget? Or kung walang magbabantay. So that's a very, very big thing to consider. Paano kung walang magtuturo? Kasi parehas parents are working. So paano na? And is there space where I can teach my child na free of distractions? And how about the school kung saan ko enroll yung anak ko? Magbibigay ba sila ng real-time interactions with their teachers or with their classmates? And lastly, compatible ba yung learning style ng anak ko dun sa digital mode of learning? Kasi not all children would thrive under digital mode of learning. Meron talaga mga traditional learners na they need face-to-face interaction. So these might help yung parent decision making tools. They are a series of questionnaires if you're still deciding on what to do with your child's schooling for this year. So yeah, and lastly, because these are very stressful times, so let's not forget, as parents, we need a break from time to time to unplug. Like what James had said earlier at the start of our webinar, let's set a time na pwede nating i-unplug na yung wifi para yung mga bata rin makapagpahinga, makapag-usap tayo, and we enjoy time with our family in this very, very difficult, unique time in our lives. So these are the references that we have consulted for this webinar. Okay. So if you have any questions that you want to raise, and if you have any clarifications or sharing while we're
Feel
here,
free to give your comments or by typing them in the comments area, or if you want to share your thoughts, but if you can join us by here in the StreamYard. If you're willing to join us, you may just click the link that I will be providing now in the chat in the comments area. Go ahead and click the link so you can join us here in the live stream. Ano po? So while we are waiting for some people to join us, what other practical tips that you can give them? Teacher, yeah.
about the gadget use, to be always conscious of how much they're using their gadgets, how long. One technique that have worked for us is to literally keep their gadgets from them
Yes.
until a certain time na pwede na nilang gamitin. So we usually keep them until 5 p.m. Tapos pag 5, doon pa lang nila pwedeng gamitin. So we're assured na hindi nila ginagamit kapag wala kami.
Yes.
So parang pag ginagamit nila, kasama din kami. Nakikita namin kung ano yung ginagawa, which is very important.
Yan. Ako po, lagi ko pong sinasabi sa pag nagtitrain po ako ng school, but this is a reminder for parents na as parents, we are the first teachers of our kids, ano? So, kailangan po talaga we nakikita po dapat sa atin yung halimbawa paggamit ng gadget, dapat hindi rin po tayo hanggang gabi, hanggang nasa kama na matutulog na lang, gumagamit pa rin. Kung gusto niyo pong gawin yun, medyo itago po natin kasi we have to be the role model for our kids. Hindi po natin sasabihin sa kanila na, hanggang gantong oras lang, ano? Pero tayo nakikita naman, alam niyo naman po mga bata, pag gusto nila, sisitahin din tayo. Bakit tayo gumagamit, ano? So we have to be the role model for our kids. And then, kung gusto niyo po, kung hindi niyo po alam kung ano yung dapat yung gawin din talaga for online, meron pong si Google na Be Internet Awesome. There are guides. Kung kanina po may binigay kaming checklist, si Google po mismo, meron din silang activity questionnaires for kids, for parents and kids to answer. And you can set your own rules na po. When you talk to your kids, kasi sabi po kaya ni James, you have to talk to your kids. As a family, you have to make some rules, and guidelines. So, nandun po, just look for the keyword Be Internet Awesome, digital citizenship. Ito po yung mga keywords na pwede nyo i-search kay Google. Yan po. So again, if you have any thoughts, you can join us here by clicking the link that I have provided in the chat area. Ano po ba yung tip natin? Lagi ko po din sinasabi sa mga parents, wag po nating asahan yung anak natin na mag-aaral talaga kahit na meron silang schedule. Kasi po, napakahirap sa isang bata i-control yung yung disiplinahin yung sarili nila. Kasi tayo nga pong mga adults na minsan ang mood na ay kadalasan po lahat naman tayo pag nasa bahay ang mood po natin ay magpahinga. So mahirap po para sa bata na talagang i-follow yung schedule. Sa simula po talagang mahirap pero kaya kailangan po natin silang tulungan. So, wag po natin silang papagalitan. Ito po din ang natutunan ko sa asawa ko, no? Give more or have more patience in dealing with kids kasi bilang guro po at the same time yung role ng teachers ay yung ibang role nun ibibigay sa atin, hindi po madali yon, kasi wala po tayong choice kundi gawin yung role ng teachers sa loob ng bahay natin, yung mag-supervise. So paano po natin sila masusupervise? Hindi po enough ngayon yung sasabihin mo, anak, tapos na ba mo na bang gawin yung assignment mo? Hindi na pwedeng pag sumagot yung anak mo na, opo, okay na po, maniniwala na kayo. Maybe it's a good way to say, oh, patingin niya anak, para malaman niyo po kung talagang ginawa niya. That's one. Another reason for that is, it's another venue to refresh your knowledge po bilang magulang sa isang concept. Doon po magkakaroon na kayo ng dialogue na sa panahon po ngayon, baka po I think the time is also calling us to talk to each other. Be more with our kids by talking about academics or how do they solve things, lalo na po sa math, hindi po kasi madali yung topic na math. So kahit ano pong subject yan or kahit ano pong assignment yan, maybe it's a good way na to have a longer talk with our kids, saan siya nahirapan. So bilang magulang po kasi yun yung role natin ngayon sa distance learning. Okay? Ikaw.
Siguro more of a question. I'm curious to find out how many parents have already enrolled their children, how many are planning to homeschool, how many are skipping the school year. I have heard from some parents who decided to not send their kids to school or not enroll this year. So I find them very very matapang for that decision kasi parang I cannot imagine letting my children not enroll for a year kasi I'm scared that they may not learn, wala silang gagawin sa bahay. So but I respect their decision kasi wala we don't know, we really don't know what will happen the next day. So maybe if you can share your decisions for this incoming school year, how many of you are enrolling, how many are just getting tutor and homeschooling. Even for homeschooling, it takes a certain kind of parent to homeschool kasi talagang you will have to take charge. Lahat kayo yung mag-iisip from planning, preparation to delivery of the materials. So if you did decide to homeschool, saludo ako sa inyo because it won't be easy. So some are also asking, is it okay to get a tutor and to just have my kids tutored at home? So ang sagot ko po doon, for me personally, I think any kind of learning at this time is better than none at all. So importanteng matututo pa rin sila in any mode, in any form, kung ano mang platform yung gagamitin, importanteng matututo pa rin sila. Whether we homeschool, whether we do home-based learning or enroll them in a real school or skip the school year entirely, I would respect your decision because of course the safety of our children is paramount. That's the first consideration lagi. So if you have any thoughts on that, whether kung may worries kayo, we also worry. We actually, full disclosure, we still haven't enrolled our children. We are still thinking about where. So we definitely will enroll them, pero pinag-isipan namin saan kaya okay na matututo sila at matututukan pa rin.
Okay. For those who are still thinking, mahalaga po i-enroll nyo. In my opinion, mahalaga na i-enroll natin ang ating anak. Bakit po? There's a sense of normalcy when you enroll them to a school, an online class. Kasi po, alam po natin may effect sa atin kahit po sa ating matatanda, sa ating adult. Merong effect yung ang tagal natin nakakulong. Wala tayong interaction with others. So there's a sense of normalcy when they are enrolled to an online school. Kasi po, they will see their classmate virtually or sa computer. Yun po ay napakahalagang bagay. Yung social skills nila nandun pa rin. So, hindi po sila maiinip sa bahay na kayo-kayo lang po yung nakikita, no? Kasi po, ito po yung isang experience namin sa aming anak na very sociable. Tapos ngayon, for around 5 months now, nakakulong lang sila sa bahay, walang interaction sa ibang kaibigan, sa kaklase, ano? So, para ma-address natin yon kahit pa paano mas maganda pong i-enroll natin sila sa eskwelahan. Yan po. Okay. I think they don't have any more question. Thank you so much for tuning in. For those who would like to know technology, the practical use of technology, ayan po, this channel, EdTech and Beyond, is run by me. Wala pong editing yung mga videos ko, kaya pagpasensyahan na po. But you will learn a lot based on the contents. Meron pong mahahabang sessions akong nakalagay dyan with invited guests. Meron po mga karamihan po ay short video clips that you can use for your daily. Oh, okay. So we have here a guest.
Teacher Apple.
I see Teacher Apple is here. Okay. Teacher Apple, are you ready? Okay. Oh, Teacher Apple, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Ayan. So,
Hello,
Teacher Apple.
everyone.
So, Mommy Apple, ano?
What are your
Yes.
thoughts, teacher? Yes.
I just want to share that I think it's important also for the parents to know the learning styles of their children.
Yes, very
I
important.
think we are we are a different generation already. So and the type of learning styles that we had as adults are far different from the learning styles our children have already at this point. There are a lot of sites where they can visit to check the learning styles of their children. Very, I think, kahit wag nang i-visit ang site, if your child, you think if your child likes to tinker on things, then therefore this child will learn best if his or her hands are moving. If this child, you think, gets instructions better if it's written or if it's explained, then the learning will come easily if this child gets that this all the new things that he or she needs to learn in this new in this new normal, in where the mind is most comfortable learning. So we have different wirings. Gone are the days where parents can say, umupo ka, kumuha ka ng libro, magbasa ka. Pagkatapos ng isang oras, magaling ka na, may matutunan ka. Hindi na po ganon ang klase ng mga estudyante sa ngayon. Maganda na ring malaman natin bilang mga magulang kung saan sila magaling. At kung saan sila magaling, bugbugin natin yon kasi magaling sila dun eh. Doon sila natututo at doon sa mga weaknesses nila, sana, wag naman din nating paulit-ulit na, kasi mahina ka dyan, kasi mahina ka dyan. Maganda rin na gamitin yung lakas para mapunuan yung kahinaan. Halimbawa, hirap talaga sa math. Ano pa naman ang gagawin natin? Hindi talaga matutunan ang multiplication table ng basta-basta. Ilang oras nang nakaupo. Ilang libro nang binasa. Pero hindi talaga ma-memorize ang multiplication table. Lo and behold, kaya pa lang kantahin. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. I mean, hindi ito matututunan ng bata kung hindi rin siya tutulungan ng matanda. Kailangan natin, ako through the years, ang nakita ko na puzzle pieces. Learning seems like for me are mixed pieces of puzzles. Kailangan mahanap yung magka-match. hindi ko matutunan ng multiplication table, hanapin ko yung match na paraan kung paano ko siya matututunan. So, actually, to highlight what I'm trying to say, that parents, we need to understand the learning styles of our children. My daughter po needed to learn a foreign language when she was in the lower grades. Yung paaralan po kung saan siya nag-aral, kailangan may foreign language na matutunan. Iyakan na po kami, iyak na siya, luhaan. Lahat na yata ng teacher, nahingan ko ng tulong kung paano siya matutulungan. Hanggat meron siyang isang teacher na nagsabi na, di ba gusto mong kumanta? Di ba gusto mong sumayaw? O mag-search ka sa YouTube, hanapin mo yung favorite song mo dun sa language na kailangan mo matutunan. Yun yung ginawa nung anak ko. Tapos para siyang light bulb na nag-click from tears of sorrow, talagang agonizing tears, para sa isang 8-year-old na talagang parang katapusan na ng mundo niya. Hindi ko talaga matutunan ito. Then may isang teacher na nag-click na, sige, kasi gusto mong kumanta, di kantahan natin ito, hanap ka sa YouTube kung ano yung favorite song mo, doon sa lingwahe na yon. All of a sudden, akala mo, may nag-turn on sa isip niya. Sabi ko dun sa teacher, baka naman wrong grammar. Kasi syempre, hindi naman lahat ng kanta, like, doon sa academic na kailangan structure, ano pa ba teacher, syntax, mga kung ano-ano yung mga kasama sa grammar, di ba? So sabi ng teacher, hindi. Basta maging komportable lang siya. And it clicked. Tinanong ko yung anak ko. Sabi niya, ang tanong ko, paano nangyari na from your least liked subject to your favorite subject? Sabi niya ganun, I don't know. All of a sudden, it clicked. So, I think yun lang po, na mas baka matulungan natin yung mga anak natin na kapag nakilala natin sila bilang estudyante, sa paraan ng wiring ng brain nila, kung paano sila natututo at makakapag-aral. Good luck sa ating lahat.
Yes, true. True, Teacher Apple.
Good
Wala
luck.
tayo
Good luck to
nakakapa.
all the parents.
Correct. Pero yun, yung sinabi mo, what struck me was about or really having that teacher who can think outside of the box, na who will not give up on us, on our children. Na yun yung nalulungkot ako kasi medyo yun yung mawawala sa ngayon, kasi ang
Yes.
hirap ma-translate over a screen yung rapport between teacher and child, yung simpleng kamustahan, yung simpleng a hug, especially sa mga maliliit na bata
Yes.
who are very affectionate, no? Yun yung mamimiss nila this year na hindi na natin mababalik. So, very sad for our children, especially the young ones.
Teacher, this is going to be very demanding for the parents.
Correct.
Because this time, they have to demand from themselves the things they demand from their teachers.
Yes.
Exactly, right? So, this is a different ball game. We
Correct.
cannot really say na that this school's curriculum is not working well for my child, especially this time when you, as a parent, are in charge of during the time of, or during the supposed learning time. But this is what I believe as a parent and as a former student, that the things I remember the most are the things that were not done inside the classroom. The conversations that I had with my teachers, the small talks that I had with my teachers, because I can say some things to them that may or may not be so true about myself, but somehow you can put yourself forward and present yourself to this person in a different manner how your family sees you.
Yeah.
So it's also important for someone for these kids who will be doing online learning in this coming school year, or we do not know, in the next
For how long?
several
Yeah.
school years,
Mm,
to have someone
correct.
Yeah, very
Mm,
important.
I do not know, we can always say, oh, napakagaling kong ina, alam ko yan, alam ko lahat ng gagawin ko, kilala ko ang anak ko.
Very true.
Well, welcome.
Welcome.
Know your child as a learner this time.
mm, mm, mm.
Thank
It
So,
will be a very challenging year for everybody.
yes,
Oo.
yes. Parents need to accept also that this time they have to take charge.
Mm.
Yes, very true. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Maraming
you.
Apple,
salamat. Thank you for
Thank you
your
po.
efforts. Thank you for accommodating
Oo,
me.
thank you
for
po.
joining us.
Good
Yeah.
Thank
luck to all of us. Hugs,
Yes.
hugs to Athena.
Yes.
Hugs to your kids. Bye.
Yes.
Hope to
Thank
see
you
you soon.
also. Oo.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye-bye. Thank
peoples.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Ayan. So, ayan po, no. Yung sabi ko nga rin po kayo, parang nasabi rin ni Mommy Apple na yung care. Tapos mahalaga, no, yung kapag mahina yung anak natin, huwag natin sasabihin, ang bobo-bobo, kung hindi kailangan natin siyang i-encourage. Para sa magulang na medyo kung tayo ay pagod na sa trabaho at gagawin pa natin to, imagine niyo po pag hindi natin ginawa, yung epekto nun sa anak natin. No? So very important to encourage our kids, be positive all the time. Yun po, hindi po tayo pwedeng mapagod tayo dahil tayo nga po yung magulang. Ano? Now, yung dating sabi nga ni Mommy Apple, yung ini-expect natin sa mga guro, tayo ngayon ang magpa-practice. Ano? So dahil tayo po ngayon yung kasama lagi ng ating mga anak.
Maybe one thing that we can take we can take our we can hope for this year is the teacher that will be assigned to our children will be competent enough in the technology that they'll be using because it matters. Even if the content is very good, if they can't really use the technology well, medyo mahihirapan, especially with young children. So that's I'm puzzling about it. Paano mo matuturuan yung mga maliliit na bata na about a very difficult concept online. But we have been teaching 3-4-year-olds over the course of the summer, and yun, my realization is that better than no learning at all is online learning kasi wala pa tayong choice, talaga mukhang hindi tayo magpe-face to face. So whether we do it by enrolling in a school or doing it ourselves through homeschooling, so it's a choice that we have to make. Medyo a big decision po. So as I have mentioned, we are still deciding where. We are definitely going to enroll our children, pero kung saan po, yun ang hindi namin pa ma-determine where. But definitely, we're enrolling in a school. And secondly, whatever support we can give to our teachers and to the school na pag-enroll natin, then by all means do so because they are doing a difficult job then with all that is expected from them. And whatever difficulties we may encounter, don't lose hope. We can always ask someone else from the community who's willing to help, who's good at something. We both of us are open to questions. So a lot of parents have been asking us yung decisions namin with our children for the school year. So we cannot really afford to homeschool. Hindi namin kaya yon kasi it's a lifestyle actually. Hindi siya lang pagtuturo sa bahay. So it's incorporating homeschooling into your lifestyle. And we are both working, so we cannot really do that. So the next best thing that we have realized is to enroll in a school, and then i-supplement na lang yung bibigay ng school dito sa bahay. in whatever way and form na kakayanin namin dun sa resources na meron kami at this time. So we hope kayo din magawa nyo yun sa bahay. Makapag-decide na kayo. So you please visit the link na pinost namin kanina para makapag-decide kayo kung
Para matulungan po kayo no, sa pag-decide. At
Mm.
meron din po kayo marirealize on your own. So you have to reflect.
So it's a very good checklist. I think there are three forms, three checklists that you can answer to evaluate whether to send your child to school, to
Or
homeschool, or home-based learning.
Yeah.
So whatever decision you may arrive at, we wish you all the best. And let's pray for one another. Yan po.
Ngayon po, in case na yung mga, pwede nyo i-share itong video na to at pwede nyo pong balikan yung video na to so you can get the link again. And if you have question, don't you can type your questions or give your feedback by giving the comments, by leaving a comment po, no? We'll try to answer your questions po, especially with regard to distance learning for families. Okay?
So if you missed po the earlier part of the webinar, there are very good suggestions by James
So,
about how to
secure.
secure our gadgets, especially when our children are using them, para hindi po sila makapunta dun sa sites
na hindi po
na
dapat
hindi
sa
dapat
kanila.
puntahan.
Okay? So, again, you may rewatch this video and share it with other families so we can help one another. If you have questions, just make sure to leave a comment. Thank you for watching and stay safe, everyone.
Ingat po,
Bye-bye.